Good evening and welcome to our August town board meeting. Thanks for coming. We're going to get started as it's 6:02 and we're going to get started with Town Clerk Greer. Would you please take roll call?
Okay, Michael Ferrara.
Present.
John Dyson. Here. Doug Avery.
Here.
Steve Churchill.
Here.
Angel Whalens.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I feel a little uncomfortable starting the meeting without Brad Jones here, but I'm going to have to wing it. So, before we get going, I have a couple of FYIs, updates and so forth for the good of the public. First of all, as probably everybody's been watching, CDC has identified Seneca County as a county that's not sufficiently vaccinated, and I just want to encourage people, if you can get vaccinated. I'm not talking about your personal opinion, but the evidence is proof in the pudding. But people ought to understand, when we talk about Seneca County, there's 4 groups of populations that are not participating and never will participate in the vaccination process. That goes into the statistics. If you look at the regular population, not counting the 4 groups that are not vaccinating, we're at 75% vaccination. But there are religious groups and other groups in the county, including our prison in Romulus, who get counted into our population number, who are not participating in the vaccination. That's why Seneca County looks like it's awful numbers, but it's just a lot of factors involved in there. So I would encourage people, if they can, if they feel like they're on the fence, I would encourage them to get vaccinated. I'd like to read a thank you note from the superintendent of schools at Seneca Falls Central School District. Supervisor Ferrara and board, I want to thank you for your partnership and support over the past year, allowing us to house your Oak Street facility for our transportation department. This past school year has been critical to the function of our department during the capital project. The use of the community center this winter was also greatly appreciated, as we had limited facilities for athletics this year due to the pandemic. What the community center use would have struggled to provide, without the community center, we'd have struggled to provide all of our programs. The entire Seneca Falls Central School District is grateful for your support and collaboration. Sincerely, Jeremy Quinn. On a side note, the drainage bless you. The drainage at Butler Avenue in front of the new bus garage has been completed. So the road is still closed. They're still working on some drainage coming from their parking lot into the new drain. Our highway superintendent and myself have looked over the project, so it's done and completed. So that's a new 8-inch line on Butler Avenue that will pick up the drainage from the bus garage, etc. And remember, the school district did the work. We're charging us back a little bit of the project. It was almost a $40,000 project. I think our contribution is about $7,000. The project had to be completed in a timeline that we could not do. The highway department could not meet that timeline, so we worked out an agreement. So it's a win-win for everybody. I have sent a letter to the Canal Corporation I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but basically I'm writing with regard to the centennial fountain that was generously placed in the canal during our 2020 celebration last fall. The fountain attracted significant interest by residents and visitors alike, and we are excited to hear that a transfer of the fountain to the town of Seneca Falls for seasonal use may be possible. Where last fall's fountain display lasted approximately a week, the transfer would ensure that we would promote visitation to our canalway and the fountain for a much longer duration. The fountain was specifically made with Seneca Falls in mind, including the uplighting, and we would be honored to be in a position to carry the meaning behind the fountain forward. Unfortunately, the cost to install and maintain the fountain is significant. Between electrical requirements, anchoring, and site preparation, placement expenses could approach 2 or 3 times the base cost of the fountain. So we're requesting the fountain be transferred to town at no charge. This will enable us to reserve and allocate funds to the fountain's implementation and ongoing operation. Blah, blah, blah. Best regards, Michael J. Farrar. So basically, we'll secure the fountain, and in the meantime, we'll work on, like we talked about at our special board meeting, trying to secure finances to make it happen. We're in the pipeline for New York State Gas and Electric to come down to the site and give us an idea of what it will cost from their perspective to bring power to that site. And then once we know that, we'll know about how much the electrician will cost to finish the project. So all that's up in the air type of thing, but I'll keep you posted. We're in the pipeline with gas and electric. Catalano's.
They didn't get back to me yet.
Pardon me?
They didn't get back to me.
Rules didn't get back to you. Okay. So that's what that is. Bottom line, we're trying to get the fountain for sure for the dedication of the Ripples of Change statue in September. And even though we most likely have to run it on the generator like we did back last year, but hopefully that we'll have the fountain for that event, and then we'll just keep it and store it until we figure out the cost of permanent electricity. Okay. We are going to be adding a crosswalk from Generations Bank on East Barrett Street across the street to the 2 sets of statues, the Ripple of Change and the 3 ladies. There'll be a lot of traffic in that area. People tend to park on the side of East Barrett Street, causing a problem. We've talked with Generations Bank, worked with Superintendent of Highways, Mr. Peterson, and the crosswalk will be done hopefully in the next couple of weeks, but that'll create a much safer place for people to park at Generations parking lot, walk across, and do what they want to do with the statues. So you'll be seeing that happening pretty soon. Okay. The Phase 2 sidewalk program for Frank Knight is at 60% completion. Based on all accounts, again, Superintendent of Highway Peterson, myself, who monitor on a regular basis, we have weekly meetings, and the engineers from B&L are very happy with the contractor. People are very happy, residents. We've had some issues. The contractor addresses them immediately, and people get back to me and say, thank you, very professional, thanking B&L for all their involvement and so forth. So things are going along as planned, okay? With that, I think we need to have a small discussion right now if you're interested in going to Phase 3. Because Phase 3 would be middle school, high school area. As you remember, the Phase 1 is Katie Stanton, Phase 2 is Frank Knight, Phase 3 would be middle school, high school. And if we're interested, the timing is a little bit different now, so if we're interested, we should probably start making a decision so our grant writer can start that process. Emily, you want to chime in a little bit there?
Sure. Hi, Emily. TAP is the Transportation Alternatives Program under DOT, and it has changed a bit over the last couple of years. And as you guys know, the program potentially as Safe Routes to School, Phase 1 and Phase 2 were under those programs. That program is now under the TAP, Transportation Alternatives Program. So this is the program you applied to before. This is exactly where it should be fitting in. So the TAP grant has come out, and TAP only comes out once every 2 years. So it's interesting you want to be planning correctly for it. So if you're not doing it this year, you are potentially going to have to wait 2 years. Their DOT, as they did with the Bridge New York, is also offering a pre-application review, which when they offer that, that's a great gift, if you will. And that application review is due in about 2.5 weeks. The whole application isn't due until the end of September. However, the best way to obtain the best application is to get as much as you can in the application so DOT can provide as much comment. And depending on the level of your application, doing that comment, you actually get this time an additional 5 extra points for going through the pre-review process. Although I don't know who goes through the pre-review process because it's good information to obtain. So Peter and I have been in touch, and it looks like you guys are 60% through Phase 2. And if you guys were looking to do so, you could apply for the Transportation Alternatives Program for Phase 3. So just wanted to let you know that funding is available if that's something that you guys are interested in moving forward on. It's an 80-20% match, so it's a strong match. I don't know that we have exact numbers as of this point as to exactly what it would cost. And
not even close.
Okay.
No, they didn't even identify the area, but based on the first 2 phases, which I think is a requirement for a certain amount of radius of X amount of.
Yeah, we could map out
Right.
where we think the potential
But it's required to be a certain amount of radius. And I can't remember if it was 500 feet or 1,000 feet. I can't remember that. But I mean, basically, based on Phase 1 and 2, the town's contribution is in the $550,000 to $600,000 range. That's our 20% match. Questions, thoughts, ideas?
Superman.
Yes, sir.
There's also at Katie Stanton in the first phase, there's also a substantial amount of sidewalk that was not repaired to the, it would be the northeast side of Katie Stanton. So that should be looked at some point as well. If you guys take a drive over that way. We did a lot of work on the southwest and that school, but not so much on the other side.
Yeah, and I don't know why that wasn't included in the Phase 1. That was
It was financial.
financial. Okay.
We should definitely move forward with the application process.
With this initial process. And, to me, we should keep going until we find we can't afford it, which we won't know until we've got drawings and some figures. But if we've got a 2.5-week deadline, it makes no sense to me not to move ahead with this
Yeah, I
project.
mean, I think you finished the job off. Right?
I agree.
Okay. Steve, any thoughts?
My only concern is, so if you apply for the grant, are you committed to the grant? I mean, if you get accepted, the dollars are unknown. So it's hard to, again, approve things without knowing what the cost is. And if we apply for the grant, are you then committed to coming up with your 20%, whatever?
You do want to show, where that is coming from. As far as a town board, as representation, I would come back at the next meeting, because it's not needed at this for the pre-application, but a supporting resolution, which that's where that language would potentially be. And I think we could have we'll have a much more roundabout figures at that point in time, which is when would be the official commitment. And you don't have to turn the grant in. I mean, we should, you know what I mean? But if that was the concern, and that concern continued, we would have the chance of not turning it in. The grant, the pre-application is the 17th. Comments will be returned back to us on August 31st, and then it's not due until September 29th. So we do have a little bit of time, you know, to be gathering and gaining more additional information and hopefully stronger numbers.
I mean, I would think the grant would require the dollar amount of the project.
All grants, as a grant writer, I always want to show where the funding is coming or that you have the funding. A lot of times I show for evidence, you know, a budget line, or, you know, if it's a sewer grant, the sewer fund, you know, that type of thing. So we do always like to show that the town even has the funding per se, not necessarily the budget line. Depending on, some projects take 3 years, some projects take a year, and that can certainly change. So there's no one way to handle it. But I'd be happy to, you know, obviously we'll keep you guys all informed as to Peter's numbers, as to what the project cost is, and we can relatively recognize about how much it would cost at this point based on the previous
Yeah, ultimately,
ones.
your investment is part of the grant, and that's kind of what that's the budget for the project, and that kind of establishes where we move forward. Then we get the design, things may change, I mean, hopefully we've done, typically at this stage, we're doing a conservative estimate, so we're looking for a number that's going to be, it's going to land the town in a position where they're not short on a project they want to complete, or they've already committed to with DOT.
And we certainly, by September, we're not going to have a design call, certainly, but we'll have a ballpark idea, I think, based on phase 1 and phase 2, and certainly the town can show evidence of we have the resources for our 20% matching grant.
Correct. And for the Transportation Alternative Program, you can only go ask for it once. You can never ask for more money. So we'll want to ask for have a generous request, and then they're always matching 20/80 as you go along. So if you don't reach all of it, you're okay. But you can never ask for more when it comes to the TAP grant. Most grants either, but especially the TAP grant.
Should we include the work that wasn't done at Stanton School?
Yeah,
we should have.
take a look at that too, see how much it's going to cost. Absolutely.
Again, until we find we can't,
Right.
we ought to explore everything.
Emily, does everyone get the grants when they're applied for?
No.
So we may not get the grant.
There is a chance that there's an extreme good chance that most applicants may not receive it. It depends on the amount of funding. This is a $62 million project. It's the same amount of funding from the previous, it's every 2 years. However, the town this is a 3-phased project, and this is phase 3. And because there's been that communication, and it's kind of in sync, you know, that's a much better place than anyone else, it puts the town above in the fact that DOT is aware of the project. If they have a question about the project, they can call someone right now about it and ask them about it. They're aware of exactly where it stands.
The state likes to invest money, and the federal government likes to invest money to complete whole things, you know what I'm saying? So I think to back up what Emily's saying, we've done phase 1, we're in the middle of phase 2. I would think that we'd be high up there on the list of going to phase 3. Okay, we'll bring back some information in September. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Another update is our waste management permit to make the Highway Department a transfer station has been submitted, and so hopefully everything will be taken care of there moving forward. We'll just wait for the DEC, and so hopefully in the near future we can offer our residents a place to bring their organics, and everything is online type of thing. So I want to thank you, Barb, for you and the committee, Doug, for all your work moving forward. Gene, you're here. This has been a long time coming, so thank you. I don't know who else. Frank, thank you. Long time coming and great work. Hopefully we can keep it moving forward. Canal Days is coming up in August. So as probably everyone knows, the board knows that we sponsor the fireworks every year. And so usually we have a canal port barge to take care of the fireworks. That's been an ongoing struggle that Missy and I have been trying to arm wrestle with. We're not going to probably get the barge. So we looked at alternative sites and we were having problems there. So I just want to publicly thank Sessler companies. Sessler companies have committed to providing the town with a barge for the canal days. Okay, at a pretty sizable expense to them because they have to move the barge that they have through the canal system and dock it and so forth and et cetera. So bottom line is the fireworks will go on somehow, and we'll have a barge in Van Cleef Lake for that to happen. And I believe that's the 21st, Missy, Sunday night at 10 o'clock that starts. So welcome everybody to enjoy that. It's at the town's expense as far as the fireworks are concerned. We fit that bill.
Sunday is not the 21st.
Saturday.
It's Sunday the 20th.
Saturday.
Saturday? Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
I would have changed that in my calendar, but I think I got it down as Sunday. Okay.
You know Saturday night that you were wrong.
Okay, so whatever the date is, Saturday the 21st at 10 o'clock, the fireworks will go on. And last but not least, we've, again, Missy and the chief and Jim, myself, we met on a couple occasions to look at the community center traffic situation, and so it's not only a vehicle problem, it's a kids on bike problem as well. And so we've made the parking lot one way going in, one way going out. We've added a stop sign at the base of Water Street, or Walnut Street, I should say, and going up the hill that flashes. So to slow not only cars down, but also to slow kids on bikes down. So through the help of Superintendent of Highways, Jim, that's been done. Unfortunately, it's probably been up 5 weeks, and the wires, the electronic component, have been sabotaged twice in the 5 weeks. So unfortunately, we have some vandalism still going on. People are actually cut the wires on the electronic stop sign. We have cameras, but we're in the process of trying to find the last person who did it. It happened on Saturday night about 2:45 a.m. in the morning. We can't identify his face. He's got a hood on. We're trying to pick him up at different spots. He went up the, well, I think it's a he, went up the Bridge Street Bridge towards the intersection of Barrett Street and Bridge Street. We're trying to pick up some visual from a couple of private company or Padula liquor store, Carzolo Plumbing. We're trying to pick it up there. But anyway, we're trying.
He
And
stole the boat.
pardon me?
He's the guy that stole the boat.
The yacht. So anyway, we're working on it. Okay, that's my FYIs for the night. We have no petitioners scheduled. Is anybody privileged of the floor that would like to speak to the town board? Anybody from petition of the floor would like to speak to the town board?
Yeah, I just want to say
So
something
there's no
about the
petitioners
wires.
or no privileges? Yes, Mr. Seneca.
Yeah, the wires, why doesn't Jimmy put them in plastic conduit? Even PCV or whatever the hell that pipe is called. Or you could put armored wire. There's a lot of, excuse me, there's a lot of solutions to that. Joking with this mask, I'm not used to it yet. So, yeah, you could put plastic piping up there.
It's already been done.
Oh, okay, because when I just came here, it was flashing when I left the public market.
No, they fixed it.
Oh, they did? Oh,
They fixed it
sorry.
again.
They didn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they fixed it. Okay. All right. Mr. Black,
Morning, good evening.
how are you today?
Good, present the Q2 check, $837,000. So things are rolling on with our projects with capping. Got about 7.5 acres done, another 20 some to go, so hopefully the weather stays good. Cell construction is continuing. Landfill gas installation's going. Odor complaints been in pretty good shape. We've had 24, 15, and 29 over the last few months, so in a pretty good place there. So that's where things are at.
Smelled pretty bad last couple days.
Sunday.
Yeah, yesterday
Not
was
even
terrible.
working Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday was awful.
Well, again, gotta call the complaint line, so that's how we respond to those things, so.
Any plans on fixing the smell?
We're continuing to get landfill gas installation and the capping projects, so that will continue to move that forward.
We've kind of been hearing that since 2016, which was really bad. Doesn't seem to improve much.
I beg to differ with you, the data says it's improved quite a bit, so.
Well, you can make data say pretty much anything you want. But
That's because we returned.
proof's in the pudding and it stinks out there. So that's all I'm saying.
Duly noted, Counselor.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to number 2, approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the Town Board Citizen Advisory Committee meeting of June 30th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm going to make a motion and we approve the Town Board public hearing meeting of July 6, 2021. Give a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to reports. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Dog Control Officer report for the month of July.
Second.
Second, any questions? Hopefully everyone's had a chance to read all of the reports that have come through. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Like to, Councilman DeLeus, zoning office report. I don't know why you do that, I do, I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the zoning office report for the month of July. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Any questions? I think Dick is here. Dick, anything we should know about? Anything special? No? Kim, everything good on your end? Okay. I know Dick and Kim are working collaboratively and taking care of business, and we're trying to take care of some issues. Remind me tomorrow morning, I have a couple addresses that we need to check out. I think. We'll check it out. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilwoman Dyson, Parks and Recreation.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes or the report for Parks and Recreation for July.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Again, I'd like to compliment Missy for the work she's doing. She's got a full load. She's been short-staffed through some illnesses. Trying to get Vince's Park up and running and dealing with different vendors. It's very difficult trying to get work done. Our post-COVID situation is that vendors don't have staff, can't get materials on the phone. Sometimes the phone works, sometimes the phone doesn't. She's got a lot going on that I've been trying to help her with, and she's doing a very good job. Missy, thank you.
Thank you, Missy.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Avery, Highway.
I move that we accept the monthly report from the Highway Department as submitted.
I second that. Discussion.
Jim, anything?
Mike pretty much said it. That stop sign that we got down is very expensive. and to have it vandalized, within 2 weeks, It's been up for, Mike was wrong, been up for 2 weeks, and the first week, it lasted 3 days. We fixed it, and then it got damaged again, and we fixed it again. Hopefully this time, we fix it where they can't get at the wires. First time they pulled the wires out, second time, it was right on tape, they snipped the wire jars. I watched them do it. So, it's very expensive, so it's for the
Only 2
safety of
weeks?
the kids. Pardon me?
Only 2 weeks has been up. I saw the video. The guy in the hood looks like Joe Chulo. I'm not 100%
Well, that
I
puts
thought
a
you
new
weren't gonna
twist
say
on
that.
The only thing I would add is, it goes back to the transfer station issue, that because of the process of getting that site recognized by the DEC, we've decided not to take batteries anymore. Is that
Car batteries, radio
immediately?
batteries will not be taken up there. We took that off the list. It's basically hazardous materials.
Right. So, rechargeable batteries, I know they can go to Lowe's. Car batteries, I don't know what the solution is.
Car
Any
battery-
place,
auto-
Monroe,
Take them to a garage?
Talmadge, the one on 414 there.
Any place that sells them.
Has to take them by law.
All right.
Just like if you change your oil on your own car, anybody who changes oil has to take your oil.
And then still the approved, Barb, correct me if I'm wrong, the approved disposal of regular, like flashlight batteries is to throw them away. That's still correct? So it's just rechargeables, Lowe's, car garage, something like that, but they will not be taken effective immediately out at the highway garage. Thank you.
And with that, we'll have to wait for the DEC, but just let the public know, that will become an official transfer station. So it may have to be monitored on a regular basis. And if that's the case, then the only time it's monitored on a regular basis as of right now is Saturday and Sundays. So I don't want to alarm anybody, but it might not be open during Monday through Friday. But we'll cross that bridge. I just want to put that out there that that's a possibility. Okay? That's a possibility. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Churchill.
Yes, I move we accept the assessor's report as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Deb, anything going on?
We don't have a contract yet with John Zukowski.
You've added that to your 2022 budget line?
I completed my budget a week and a half ago and turned it in Beverly.
Okay. And you've added that as a budget line for
Full extent.
worst case scenario?
Yes, worst case scenario without any discount for my house.
That's the revale?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so as we go through the budget process, obviously, we'll have to take a look at that and move forward, type of thing. Okay. Again, Debbie does a great job of searching current sales, okay? And almost invariably, houses are going for much higher price than they are assessed for, okay? And she does a great job of tracking that down and building a database for that type of thing. But everyone should know that if my house is assessed for $200,000 and I sell it for $300,000, we can't go back and reassess the new owners at $300,000.
Not unless there's an improvement.
That's been an improvement that we didn't know about.
Like a deck, or even
Which
if you
happens.
knew about it, yeah,
Which
the deck, the roof, the
Which
siding.
ties into what Dick and Kim try to do, is now we're communicating, assessor's office and planning and zoning are communicating, so every permit that comes through goes over to Debbie, and then what Kim and Dick do is try to seek out jobs that are being done unpermitted. We're not trying to get you, it's not the Gestapo, it's just trying to make it fair for everybody. If I put a $50,000 addition on my house and not permitted, that raises the value of the house, and if we don't know about it, that's unfair to me and you who get the permit and do the proper paperwork and pay fair share. So that's what we've been trying to facilitate with the addition of Dick and Kim in the planning and zoning.
The average difference between a regular old standard house with no improvements between the sales in the last 2.5 years to assessed value AV is about $60,000. No, for doing nothing. So that's the average. And when one person, when the new owner gets that break, the rest of us, the seller makes the money, but the AV stays down here, and the rest of us got to absorb the difference for that new owner. So we have neighbors, I have had neighbors in the past call, how come my neighbor's house is so much lower than mine? It seems unfair, we have similar style houses. Well, I just can't raise or lower based on purchase price, unfortunately, because the buyer sets the market. So we just can't, I just can't jump you up because it's sold high. Only the rebuild can cure that.
And I'm glad I built my garage before Dick and Kim started. Okay, all in favor of accepting the assessor's report, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Avery, water and sewer.
Move we accept the monthly report of the water and sewer department as submitted.
Second.
Discussion.
We've had reports of algae blooms, so we've tested twice and we've found no microsystems in either test, in the raw water.
Okay, and everything else is pretty kind of standard for the month type of thing, and we're moving forward. Joe will be adding, well, we'll have to make a decision, but he'll be adding to water and sewer budget for 2022, cleaning the water intake pipe where we get our water before it's treated from the lake, which is about $140,000. But we'll decide if you want to add that to the regular water budget line, or if you want to use reserves or whatever. But we'll make that decision when we get to that point in the budget process. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Pat, you want to pass, or you want to?
There's no new actions to report other than the matters that are on the agenda.
Thank you. Councilman DeLeus, town court.
Make a motion to accept the report as presented.
Second.
Talking with the court, we're getting real heavy load. It's getting heavier this summer and everything going on, so it's very busy. You see the report, like 90 cases at one.
And the, any feedback on the training that the clerks went through in Albany? Is everyone all right there and so forth? Remember we sent the 3 clerks to training? That's all.
I don't think they've gone.
They haven't gone yet. So
They haven't gone yet? I thought, oh no?
no, it's
Oh.
September.
Oh, okay. I guess there's no feedback. Okay.
They went September.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You guys vote aye over there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking.
All right, very good. Councilman DeLeus, public safety?
Make a motion to accept the report as presented by the chief.
I second that. Discussion. Chief, nothing to add?
No, I'm good.
Oh, I like it. Yes, sir.
Stu, how are the numbers for DWI? I know your report compares them to last year, but last year at this time, nobody was out doing anything. It seems high.
Well, it's high because we went from 1 DWI arrest last year and this in July.
Right, but I mean, to compare it to 2 years ago or to last month, are they trending upward? It just seems like every other headline is a DWI. Or
Well, I think we had, what, 4 or 5 this
you
July.
said 5.
That's quite a bit, but no, their trending is as they have been in years past. There's nothing abnormal about those.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
And the reason why the courts have been so busy, I should try to maybe explain this. I mean, we're seeing warrants come in, bench warrants for failure to appears because of bail reform. People are getting released. They're going out committing war crimes. They're not appearing in court. And we're seeing massive amounts of bench warrants coming back to us. We're rearresting, sending them back to court. They don't appear again. Another bench warrant comes over. It's a process that's occurring throughout all different court systems and police departments in the state. So you're going to see a larger and larger caseload happen in the courts as well with us as we continue to catch and release.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Peter, I want to make a motion that we accept the town engineer's report from Barton and Judas. Second, thank you. Peter, anything to add on in the report?
I got 2 items for Joe and I on the agenda later on.
Yep. Any questions for Peter?
Yeah, this, the secondary clarifier perimeter skirt. You know, I read it several times. I read the request for it. It's a pretty expensive item. You're asking for 2, about $69,000. It says during routine maintenance, a portion of the aluminum skirt for one of the wastewater treatment plant secondary clarifiers was dislodged and was sheared off. Approximately 1/3 of the lower section of the skirt was sheared off. It had to be removed by plant operators. I mean, can you explain that? I mean, can it be repaired? If some, it seems to be,
That was our initial reaction, was to,
yeah.
so basically it's there's a few vendors out there that provide clarifiers. The clarifier is the last kind of treatment unit process in the plant. And basically it's a big circular tank that drops the solids out. They're collected at the bottom and those solids are kind of recirculated in the plant, so those solids are wasted. So the way this particular clarifier is set up is the water enters the outside and it flows around the perimeter of it. The skirt, basically, you've got the outside wall and you've got a skirt that's basically a sheet of aluminum that kind of hangs. But the way it's a proprietary system, so it's not just a circle, which basically would be simple to kind of just get some aluminum sheet and drop a circle in there. It's proprietary to the system, so it's got a unique geometry. It's got unique bolt patterns on top. So really what we looked at initially is, can we get a contractor in there to kind of repair what's in place. When they drained it, I mean, what happened essentially is they were hosing down units that they typically hose down to kind of clean out troughs and channels and things like that. The material was so corroded that when they hit it with the hose, a part of it it was ready to go. And it wasn't in normal circumstances that would not cause it, but because this is basically 18 years old, it was a material that's no longer used for this type of application by the vendor. So it just sheared off, and there's a rotating mechanism at the bottom that flipped it and just kind of took a lot with it. So right now it's the plant, day after, the week after, things appear to be okay with respect to permit compliance. That doesn't necessarily mean things won't change during a heavy rain event. And then we have every reason to believe that the second clarifier is going to be in the same exact condition. So that's kind of why the recommendation we made is to just replace both of them. It would be with this, it's a sole source. It's one vendor provides this technology. So you would have to basically purchase it through the vendor versus trying to try to kind of replace that in kind with using a contractor to try to fit it would ultimately be more expensive because you'd pay a contractor a lot of labor and trying to kind of form a piece of equipment that's the supplier has molds already in place.
What's this maintenance that essentially, caused it to fall apart?
Cleaning.
So, yeah, how often is that conducted?
Probably every 6 months.
6 months?
So if we try to repair what's there, the pieces that hold up the bottom are very porous and in as bad a condition as what fell off. So it's not gonna hold, it's just gonna fall. You'd have to see it, but it's a dissimilar metal, and aluminum was the weakest link, so that all decayed and rotted. So if we try to put new stuff and hang it, it's not gonna hold, it's just
So
gonna
this
fall.
pricing includes the installation?
No,
No, that's materials.
that's just materials to get it ordered.
So
And then we're gonna bid out the job to be done.
So this is gonna be $100,000.
Could be.
I don't know, but my sense is this is a,
But we don't have a choice, it has to be done.
it's,
Well, we're only replacing one at the moment.
We do have a choice of doing two.
Well, we need to order two now, because if the other one fails, we'll have it in 12 weeks, say. And it's going to. And we're gonna get a price on, we're gonna do one at a time, we're gonna budget for it, the installation next year of the second. But we're definitely gonna have to get an estimate to get the first one done by February.
so to put it, the work that, when this failed, the clarifier was relatively drained in a day, and by the town operators, and material had to basically cut and remove, and they had it done in 2 hours. Now you're getting, essentially, it's a 60-foot diameter, you're getting these pieces that have bolt patterns on them, the bolts come in. They actually put it in to drain the clarifier, they actually put it in, it's not probably less than a week for a kind of like a crew of, say, 3 or 4 people in contractor. So it's not there's no excavation, it's not a significant effort, so we're certainly gonna shop it out, and kind of get quotes from contractors out there to do the work. But that part, I think this is one of those cases where the materials are gonna be the bulk of the cost, because of the nature of what you have to do. There's really not, if we're doing put a clarifier, this would be like literally the last step that the contractor would do before he'd acquire the clarifier over the town.
And it's not something you want to obviously not have operating, because now you're talking about direct discharge into the watershed or the water system of the canal.
It'll short circuit the tank, and the sludge will go over there.
Yeah.
And into the
And the DEC would be finding you a lot of money on a daily basis.
Could be.
But we don't have one now, so are we using that?
No,
tank?
it's operating.
Oh, but it doesn't have the skirt on it.
It's missing 1/3, and we're getting real lucky that it's not raining a lot.
But my point is, are we risking that fine for the next 12 weeks until the
Yes.
skirt comes in?
If it doesn't, if it fails, absolutely.
Can we get by with one clarifier run?
No, we're better off the way we're running right now. Way better off. That would cut you in half. Come down there, I'll show you. I'll let you see what I'm talking about. It'll be easier for you to understand.
I couldn't hear it all, but I did hear the word aluminum. So can the aluminum be replaced by stainless steel, brass, or titanium that is not going to rot? Just out of curiosity.
Some kind of plastic.
They don't.
Or
yeah,
plastic, all right.
They no longer manufacture aluminum, it's gonna basically be fiberglass resin. So
Oh, okay.
it's, yeah,
All
so
right.
that's the material.
Just curious.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Any further discussion for B&L? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. I make a motion that we accept MRB's report for the month of July. Second. Thank you. Emily, anything to add to the report?
Last Friday, the consolidated funding application closed. And yes, and the town had 2 submissions, a resubmission of the GIGP Green Innovation Grant Program, which was for water meters, that was a resubmit, and also for a local waterfront revitalization plan recommended through following the work of the DRI. And so those were successfully submitted, and we should anticipate hearing, originally it was October, although things at the state are changing very quickly. And so I find no date to be, they're usually released in December, the grants. This year we were told it was going to be October. Happens to be an election year, maybe there's something to do with it. I don't know, but that may also change. So it will be released in a few months, you will find out. That's the honest answer.
Thank you. Any questions for Emily? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Councilman Avery, Seneca Falls Development Corporation.
Seneca Falls Development Corporation did not meet this month. The scheduling things got shifted, so we meet next week. You did receive a report that, in the packet tonight that includes a couple of items. But other than that, if you, the farmer's market's going great guns. And if you've been over near Generations Bank, you see that the preparation for the ripples have changed. The new statues of the 4 women that work is underway.
Some pouring concrete.
Yeah, they're pouring today, so they're pouring concrete today.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Some other committee reports. The Citizen Advisory Committee, looking into the government efficiency. As I've stated before, we're moving forward. We've signed the contract with CGR, and they have contacted me today, and they're going to meet with me on Monday, and they're going to start the game plan as far as looking into the town's government efficiency and moving forward with that. So that's going to be starting. Our monthly planning zoning committee that includes Tom Scholes here, and Frank is here, is on that committee, and Dick is on the committee, myself, Pat is on the committee, Nikki joined us this month. So we meet regularly with MRB, and basically we've created new applications for the different things that people have to apply for when it comes to zoning and planning. That'll be finalized here in the next week. Melissa is putting the finishing touches on those. I reached out to the board. I need your input if you want to provide input, because our major focus right now is renewable energy moratorium that was passed, and we're working on those types of recommendations to move forward. So if there's anything that you are thinking about that you would like to be included, I need your input. I reached out to everyone. I got no responses. We're working on some common stuff that other communities have already adopted, like setbacks and size of the projects, and different districts that projects would be allowed in. But if you're thinking about anything else, you need to let me know. Okay? When that committee's work is done, we'll bring it to you for approval or not, and we'll go for that.
Mike, to me, the part that's missing, it seems like from your email that committee and those groups are working on how to make this legal and somewhat how to regulate it, but there's not the conversation about whether these projects are good for Seneca Falls, should be moving forward in Seneca Falls.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. So
And
I don't. If that's the direction, I don't. If that's the direction that the board wants to take, that have you're saying no renewable projects is an option.
I don't know. I don't know. We have to look at that, and that has to be part of it. It can't be simply take what they're doing and figure out how to make sure that it's legal. There has to be this other component during this year while this moratorium is in place, or we're going to get to a year from now, and that if that hasn't taken place, then I don't see, for my own self, moving forward and reinstating the possibility of those programs. We've got to have the conversation about whether they're good, and maybe they are, and maybe I can be convinced. But right now, that conversation is not taking place, and maybe it's the same people, maybe it's other people, maybe it's here. I don't know, but that conversation has to take place.
I think it would be here
to satisfy me at this point.
I think it would be here,
Okay.
because I don't think anybody on that committee has that thought that we're looking at not allowing any projects, renewable energy projects, to move forward. I don't think that's the mindset. You're 100% right as far as the mission of that committee. So if the discussion you want to have here is saying we're not going to allow any solar farms, we're not going to allow any windmills, we're not gonna allow X, Y, and Z, then that's something I need to know so that, you know, if the majority of board feels that way, then we need to know that.
Yeah, it needs
Because right
to-
now, we're wasting our time.
It needs
if we
to
don't do that.
incorporate a review and a possible update to the town's comprehensive plan. That needs to be part and parcel of it.
That's where that language would be.
Because that would essentially drive what your codes are.
Well, if you look at the town comprehensive plan, it's full of renewable energy
Well, that's what
language.
it needs to be reviewed and potentially updated.
So if you guys want to take that on, be my guest. Be my guest.
Thanks.
Now, we're approaching this from a zoning, from an amendment of the zoning code perspective. So usually, when you have a particular use that you're trying to regulate, you're looking at it as a function of which zones of the town, which areas of the town would this be most appropriate, and under what conditions would it be most appropriate. You're usually not looking at banning an entire industry from your entire town. Usually that's fairly difficult to do. If there's something, but regulating it and segregating it out to a particular zone, district, that's why we have industrial zones, that's why we have other zones like that, separating out different uses. So we're looking at it as a function of the zoning code itself, as just as we do with other uses in that code. So we're not necessarily looking
Well, what
at
about in the case of fracking? I mean, there were municipalities and townships that banned fracking.
And then the state banned it.
What's that?
And then the state banned
And then the
it
state
as
did,
well.
but prior to the state doing it, that was a whole industry that they banned.
Okay, so, and that was not done through zoning?
No, well, however it's done.
Okay.
It doesn't, we aren't saying zoning is our only tool here. I don't think we ever said that. We talked about zoning, codes, comprehensive plan.
Well,
Okay.
again, the comprehensive plan was developed before my time. The Seneca Falls Development Corporation economic plan was developed before my time. That was done in 2018. Again, both plans are overwhelmingly have sections in them that deal with renewable energy. So if somebody wants to take charge of going back and write the comprehensive plan, be my guy.
I'll start by looking at it.
Okay, it's there, and I think you were on the Seneca Falls Development Corporation when that one was written in 2018?
I was attending meetings, I don't think I was on it.
Okay. Whatever you want to move in that direction. Okay. Me. Okay, I'm going to make a motion and we accept the communications for the month of July. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. We have 6 communications ranging from a letter from the New York State Department of State about being accepted, local law 6 that we passed, monthly reports from the town clerk, checks depositing of $158,599 from different sources of revenue, from the courts to Vince's Park, et cetera, et cetera. Also notification from the American Legion that they're applying for renewing their liquor license, et cetera. Also, the town planning board minutes are there, and the town zoning board minutes are there. I strongly suggest you read those minutes if you haven't done so already, so you can keep track of what's going on in both of those committees. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Attorney Morrell.
So the sale of 115 is ongoing. You would know if it was wrapped up. I've been in contact with the other attorneys through this past month, and we're hoping to get everything together the way it needs to be to transfer that property to the new owners.
Would
Okay.
that be soon, Ted?
I'm hoping, like I said, I've been in contact with with their attorney's office in Auburn, Mr. Testa, and we've exchanged some documents, title documents and such. Again, it's a unique situation. We're just trying to make sure we get things right for the new owners.
Thank you.
Is this still the problem of the village and stuff?
Well,
like
it's
the village?
addressing the dissolution in a deed that's going to be recorded and be, the record of the ownership of this property, forever. So, we'll do it right first.
This involves John Strawley's too?
Well, yeah, and
Well,
that's
they're
part of
the
the,
owner-
that's
they're
part of
owners
the,
They're the other owner.
yeah, sure. I've been in contact with them quite a bit.
There's other owners, but I mean, they own the condo. We pay a condo fee to Strawway, whatever the name is.
And that's just one of the moving parts.
Okay.
Okay. Any progress, Councilman Churchill, Councilman Avery with SMI? No.
We haven't heard anything.
And on that, I've just been in contact with David Howe, been trying to get a framework going forward. The host community agreement talks about a dispute resolution process, so we're just trying to get the parameters together of what we think would be the best way to go about it, and then we'll present that to Senator Meadows, and hopefully we can move forward with that.
Well, that's why we haven't been involved.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you guys met. Okay. And Councilman Churchill, any progress with Veterans Bridge cameras?
Yeah, did go down, looked at it, certainly could do it for a lot less than the estimate we had last month. But, one of the thoughts is, and I think as we found out, cameras are limited. And what do cameras do? Cameras just help you perhaps catch the person that vandalized it. What we really want to do is prevent the vandalism. We want to, prevent anybody from vandalizing the place in the first place. So one of the ideas that came up was perhaps putting a fence around those areas so that they can't get to them and paint them. That would probably be a whole lot cheaper than putting in camera systems. And again, it's a preventative measure. That's one thought. Could put cameras up, could put what looks like cameras up, right? They go a long way to deterring people too. It says that it's being monitored and surveilled, but certainly could do it for a lot less than $20,000.
So, I mean, so you have some recommendation that you want to bring to the board, or you want to wait until September?
I'm waiting. No, I don't right at this point. I was going to put something together, but I'm working with Don Wood, and he was going to reach out to Jim. I don't know if he talked to you yet, but
No, it has not.
so as soon as we get together with Jim on that,
Okay.
we can put together a proposal for the cameras. But again, I don't know if that's really going to be the solution, because again, a hoodie is hard to see through, at night, and so we might make an investment in something like that, and it's just not going to produce.
Make a lot of no hoodies.
Perhaps.
Make a lot of no hoodies.
Well, we identify the one hoodie, I know that. So, all right, well, September, come back with something.
Yeah, I'll have
recommendation or
something, but again, I think we should consider a fencing option,
I'm saying, if you want to come back with that recommendation and, a cost for that, that's
whatever that would look like. Maybe
Stu, have you seen the
maybe I
site?
could,
Stu,
you
have
and I
you seen
can
the
go
site
out
on there?
You and Woody.
Sorry.
Have you seen the site in question?
Oh, yeah, I've been on there
Is-
multiple
is-
times. In fact, we picked our trail camera up off the ground down there this week that was smashed off the tree that was down there, so. Yep.
yeah, we can
It's
make
going
the
to be
fence.
a continuous, difficult spot to monitor.
My only concern with a fence is it simply presents a challenge.
The cameras where they were going to be placed are up above the bridge, up where they could not,
Underneath.
wouldn't be able to get to
could
it,
not
right?
really be damaged easily. This trail camera we had up in the air with the assistance of the street department, secured to the side of the tree, but still the kids saw it, eventually picked up a rock and smashed it off the side of the tree. So, and we had to continuously change camera batteries out and then the data that was only stored on a chip. You know, we used what we could and what we had, so I think it's gonna be an issue.
And it could be an electric fence. Word would get around.
And it's obviously Waterloo kids, because Seneca Falls kids would do it.
We called Gail and see if she got some Dover.
Put a fence up there. Okay, all right. Under new business, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the special events that are been scheduled. Have a second for that, please?
Second.
Any questions for Missy on the special events?
Yeah, Missy, I see that there might be a potential conflict between the two of them if the rain date comes into play.
They're aware of it and they'll move it to the
All right, so they got, all right, that was all I saw.
Shoot the lights.
Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I have a resolution here. Whereas the Highway Department would like to surplus the following items: fuel containment bin, 2013 Chevy pickup, 2012 F550 dump truck with plow equipment, 618 front mount grasshopper mower with snow blower. Whereas these items will be put on auction international for sale, these items are no longer used. Now therefore be it resolved that Seneca Falls Town Board does hereby authorize the surplus of these items to be auctioned off through Auction International. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just the point I raised, but it wasn't with Jim, I think it was with Joe, the fact that, and I haven't talked to Dick or Kim about it, but the fact that perhaps we should be saving a truck for the use of code enforcement. So, but maybe it's too early for that.
The conversation we had with our committee meeting is that Doug brought up a good idea to have an identifiable vehicle for zoning and planning.
But that was
When
the
they
meeting,
go out
that was the
and-
meeting with Joe, not with Jim, so
Right.
Jim's hearing this for the first time.
So, to add to that, I talked about that truck, and the guys disagreed that truck would be good to keep. The one where we were telling.
For
you
water
to
and
get rid of.
sewer.
Well, to keep for anybody would be best to get rid of.
Best to get rid
It
of
would be best to put it on auctions than
versus
keep it and have to maintain it.
even though we have nothing at all.
Want to add on, Brian?
The rear end's gonna fall out of it probably in the next month or so.
Probably an auction, yeah. And Jim, your truck,
He's got a 13 Chevy.
the 212, no, that's a dump truck.
Right before it.
The Chevy pickup, Jim? Chevy pickup, how bad?
That one's in pretty decent shape. The reason we got rid of it, because it wasn't four-wheel drive. So, yeah, we could transfer some bullet holes in it.
Do you understand what I mean, what we're talking about? So right now,
Yes.
we don't have an identifiable vehicle when Kim or Dick go out, okay? Plus we, rightly so, compensate mileage for them in their own vehicles, rightly so. So I think Doug got an idea, and I agree with him that if we had a dedicated vehicle for planning and zoning, they could use that.
I did that with Joe. I gave him one of our trucks. But, turned it over to him.
So you think that one was doable?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I know this, Dick and Kim haven't heard this yet either, so, maybe it's too early, or maybe we just hold off on this one until we've had a moment to look at it.
Is that something you think is a good idea?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely needed. It's definitely needed. When the county goes out for their inspections, for an identified vehicle, instead of a personal vehicle, there's other issues that could be involved with this. With zoning, when you're serving somebody or you're, getting somebody out,
Right.
jamming somebody up, and you're in your personal vehicle, they see that personal vehicle. And they see, that's my vehicle, my kid's driving it downtown,
plate numbers.
and they're, that's.
They'll find out where she lives.
Okay, so I'm gonna, based on all that, I'm gonna make an amendment to the resolution. And my amendment to the resolution is that we are not going to put the 2013 Chevy pickup up for auction. Can I have a second for that?
Second.
Discussion.
Is it automatic? Not standard, right?
Pardon me?
Is it automatic and not standard?
Automatic. You think anybody in the highway department can drive standard?
I know I can.
Let's learn.
I tried that once.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment to the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now the resolution reads, whereas the highway department would like to surplus the following items: fuel containment bin, 2012 F-550 jump truck with plow equipment, 618 front mount grasshopper mower with snow blower. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. And any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So Jim, we're gonna hold off on that, and you and I will talk, and
Yes.
Doug, and we'll try to figure out how to, if you can give me an idea what the best way to get that identified as a, how do you call it, as code enforcement vehicle? Town of Seneca Falls code enforcement?
It's already got Town of Seneca Falls on it,
Right.
you just gotta take the highway off and
Right.
put a couple bullet holes on the, stickers.
There'll be plenty of
No, we
Okay.
can take the highway off and put clean.
All right, thank you. Good night, folks. Okay, I have another resolution. Whereas the town, resolution to accept proposal ARPA funding compliance assistance, whereas the town is slated to receive $880,301 in federal assistance through the American Rescue Plan Act, created as a response to the ramifications of COVID-19 outbreak, and having already received the first half, and whereas the town is in need of professional services to ensure compliance with all the requirements of the Act, therefore be resolved that the town of Seneca Falls does hereby authorize the town supervisor to sign the contract for professional services related to the ARPA funding with MRB at the terms stipulated in the contract. Have a second for that, please.
Second.
Thank you. Just so the town board is aware, but everybody else, the town received, well, we received about $880,000 from the federal ARPA. We've already received $440,000. The other half will come next year. So this would be to administer that money type of thing and help with the determination of what we can apply it to. There's a ton of paperwork that goes along with it that you have to file, etc. It's too much for what we have as far as staff to handle. We're down to, as everyone on the board knows, we're down to one person at the moment. Sarah Wright is doing a great job, but as of today, she's a one-man show. Bev Werfel went in for knee surgery today. She's out 6 weeks. We've had a resignation in that office. We're in the process of trying to fill an account clerk position, but Sarah is on her own at the moment. But anyway, this is to help administer and paperwork, etc. type of thing. We had 2 proposals that Bev shared with everybody, and so that's the resolution. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. I think we don't have a resolution, right? Thank you for the.
No, we don't.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Peter White as a town office cleaner effective tomorrow, August 4th, 2021, at an hourly rate of $14.28 per hour for 25 hours per week. Have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. So we had another resignation, our cleaner, who was an older gentleman, has decided to retire completely. Peter is a town employee, a seasonal town employee. He works with Parks and Recreation. Missy speaks very highly of him. He has been here cleaning now in the interim, along with another Parks and Recreation seasonal employee. So this would make it a permanent situation for Peter. You know, as I said, effective tomorrow, he would be the permanent cleaner. He would be still working part-time in Park and Recreation, helping out there when he's done here. And then when that Parks and Recreation position ends in September, his time, obviously, up to 25 hours would be here. Any questions on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. I have a resolution here from Water and Sewer Department, pay adjustment raise, Mason Hawker at Thurston, budgeted for 2020. Whereas the town board realizes that operator / trainee Mason Hawker and Ed Thurston have received their 2A plant plus D distribution water operators licenses and have received a CDLB driver's license since becoming an operator / trainee. Now therefore be it resolved, the town of Seneca Falls Town Board does hereby authorize a raise of $2 an hour to a salary of $25.93 for each Mason Hawker and Ed Thurston for obtaining all of these certifications. Have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion or questions for Joe?
Yeah, I thought we discussed this a year ago where, you know, the question is how many water plant operators do we need? And just because a person gets certification or moves ahead and gets a, you know, associate degree or college degree, doesn't necessarily mean that they get a raise. I mean, it doesn't in the private sector. There's no reason that it should happen in the public sector. If we're giving raises to all our folks, then these folks would fall into that category. But or if there was a position opening that they then stepped into, they would get the salary or the hourly rate of that respective position. But just because somebody completes some certifications, I said last year that you know, I mean, you can make everybody a water operator, but we can't afford. This town certainly can't afford to pay for however many water operators that, you know, we have. I mean, we need to decide as a board how many water operators do we need. If it's 2, then we pay the wage for 2 water operators. If folks want to get their certification on our nickel, and we don't need them as a water operator, and then they decide to take a job somewhere else as a water operator, so be it. We've helped them, I guess, you know, get that opportunity, but I'm not going to support this. This would be in addition to whatever raise we give this year?
Correct.
To all our employees?
In the budget, they build this into the budget that we approved as people completed their training and different levels of certification. Then there's a increase in salary to that. That's been the history.
Well, maybe budgeted, but you're saying there's a process that makes this automatic?
Well, again, I wasn't involved before my time. The Personnel Committee, Doug can explain it better than I can.
Somebody gets a certification and they get a raise?
That's been the program as we set it up. So if we're going to stop it, fine, we need to do that. But you know, this happened under.
Well, it shouldn't have.
This is a part of the succession plan,
Right.
okay? Because of something we learned 2 years ago when 2 people left and there were no licenses, okay? So this is a part of the succession plan, and we need operators.
Well, how many operators do we need?
We need the same amount of operators that we hired trainees for as we work through all this. So we have 4 trainees and they're getting licenses. They were hired as trainees to become operators.
4. We need 4 water operators now.
We're going to need 4 operators, yeah.
And again,
how many do they have in the Waterloo treatment plant, you know?
At least 3 or 4, maybe 5, maybe more.
And again,
We're operators.
Councilman Church, I was not involved, the personnel committee, Doug and Dave were involved in previous years. And that doesn't mean we can't revisit this, okay?
That's
I'm
why
just
we
saying,
have
in
a
previous
budget.
years, the matrix was developed, correct?
Yeah.
Saying that, there would be incremental increases based on,
And they were hired,
Education.
they were hired that way too.
That's the program we set up
It's
to
a training
address this
program.
issue. So, but at some point, Steve is right, at some point moving forward, maybe we have enough, so we need to look at that, whether we do or not.
Well, I think we
But
need to
these
look at it
people
now.
started
You know,
the training.
We're talking about
But
budgeting and reducing expenses, and yet we continue to do things like this. No, the three court clerks, when they come back and they've gone through this new training and they get a certificate in hand, are we giving them a raise?
These are licenses.
These are licensed too.
Can I say
They're
something?
getting
Probably
licensed.
see what they go through.
Okay, is doing this for a living many years ago. They need, Joe, is it a 24/7?
It's not 24/7 now, it's covered by SCADA, but if SCADA goes down, it is 24/7.
Okay, so if it's 24/7 and you got one position, that's 8 times 3, or 7 times 3 is 21.
7 days a week.
One person can't do 21 shifts. Can 2 people do it? No. Can 3? There's a simple formula, I just can't think of it, but the chief of police may know the formula because he runs into it all the time. But when you're 24/7, it takes, at least 3 to 5 people to fill one shift.
But we are 24/7, you just said that.
No, he says he is.
No,
All right.
you said SCADA system watches.
Yeah, he did say they were.
If they get alerted, then someone has to go in.
But what I'm saying is, if you're doing 24/7, you need at least 4 to 5 people. And that doesn't count vacations, sick time, and stuff like that for overtime. So all I'm saying is, they probably do have the right number. But there is a simple formula you can look up on the internet how to staff for 24/7.
And they're for both plants, which is very rare.
Is
So
this-
everybody's gonna be, that license isn't for both plants, but everybody's gonna be cross-trained for both plants. So it's gonna be 4, 5, well, it's more than 4, but it's 4 trainees. So it's
I
gonna be
would
5.
strongly suggest,
It's
it
correct.
seems to be the sentiment that I would strongly suggest, and we've talked about this before, that the personnel committee revisits the matrix and
look at other communities.
And come up with a recommendation for the town, okay? Certainly, this resolution is in place. You can vote yea or nay, obviously, but if we want to try to create a standard where you're not necessarily a policy, where you're not necessarily automatically providing a pay increase based on X amount of level of education. That's something that would have to be a board policy to put in place.
Well, then I would like to make a motion that we table this, and I would like to see that policy that we have. I'm not aware of it, I haven't read it. I would like to see it, what's in place now. And I would like to talk to some other municipalities. I'd also like to talk to Joe, find out how many do we have today. But I would like to see us table this at least for a month so we can do something.
Okay, so we have a motion to table this resolution. Can I have a second for that motion?
Okay.
No second. Without further discussion?
Just one more point. I mean, at some point, Steve is right that we probably have enough. If you've got 4 people who can cover that.
Add something.
So
to that.
do we have more trainees in the works?
No, but I would like to add something to that. Those licenses would be assistant operators, actually. Okay. But they got licenses to be that. I'm the only operator.
So these
Those
aren't
are 2
water.
A's.
So at the
Those are
very
2 A's,
least.
but they are operators. By DOH, they are operators.
So this resolution is incorrect. And
No, they are operators.
They're
They're
water
just not-
operator licenses.
Yes, so it's not incorrect.
That's the
It's
name
not
of the
incorrect.
license.
So these folks.
They are operators. They're just not the operator.
What's the difference between the operator and a water?
I think Joe
One A
is
and
the
a 2A.
operator. Right.
So I'm a 1A, they're 2As,
So they're assistant water operators.
but they are water operators by Department of Health staff. They're licensed operators.
Okay, so, all in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed, so that's carried 4-1, opposed, Councilman Churchill. I would strongly recommend moving forward, in the meantime, before you come up with a policy. Joe, I think before we send anybody further, we have a board approval for classes. Only because then, all right, I'm sending Mike Farrar to this class, which means there's a direct relationship between me going to class and getting the certification and a pay increase. And then the board, by a majority, can say, right, would you go ahead? You know more than I do.
Right, but I also suggest that board should, wants to decide on anything, that's board's right. But I would check with the county and see what their rights are as a trainee, that we have trainees now.
They have a civil service right?
They probably do to some point. You can't just say to a trainee, oh, you can't go, you can't go, you can't go. So at some point, if they're trainees, they're entitled, I believe.
How many trainees are there currently?
4.
I mean,
4 for 2 plants.
in addition to the ones whose things were just approved?
No, they are.
No, they're part of the 4.
Okay, I will have the town manager check with the county civil service and find out what's going on.
So, Joe, so there are 2 more who we're working on?
No, James already has it, so there's 1 more who's passed all his courses, and just waiting to receive it.
Okay.
So 3 of them already have the license, so that's 1 more person to be paid.
Hang on, write myself a note.
And how many wastewater operators, licensed operators?
It's gonna be the same, and then that's a definite, both of one.
So we don't have any wastewater treatment plant operators that aren't water?
Just Brian and I'm the only one that's dual right now.
Right, but do we have how many wastewater treatment plant operators do we have?
I just said 1.
Just one?
Myself as the operator, Brian is an assistant operator, who is an operator. It's kind of like when you talk about computers, I'm sorry, I don't understand it when you say that.
Okay. Our next resolution, requesting the New York State Department of Health adopt watershed rules and regulations for Wasco Lake and establish a transparent process for the timely approval of draft watershed rules and regulations drafted by other communities. Have a second for this, please. Thank you. All of you received this via mail from the City of Auburn, asking us to participate. It's just not for the Wasco Lake watershed. It's an effort to persuade the New York State Legislature to create watershed regulations, updated ones, for all drinking water lakes and so forth. So I have adopted this to put Seneca Falls in, and this is just moving it forward with our support of this legislation. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next resolution, 2022 health insurance offering change in insurance contribution rates. Whereas the cost of health insurance coverage continued to escalate, whereas pending changes in the composition of the revenue stream received by the town will result in less revenue, whereas the town desires to continue offering good health care coverage to its employees, therefore be it resolved that the Seneca Falls Town Board does hereby change its health insurance offering and is providing a 90-day notice to non-union employees and retirees currently in the town offered plans under 65 years of age that the following changes will take place effective 12/1/2021. The Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield Simply Blue Plus Platinum 2 plan is being discontinued as a health insurance offering. The Accelis Blue Cross Blue Shield Simply Blue Plus Bronze 4 plan is being designated as the town's offered plan, with an HRI provided at $4,500 for a single plan, $9,000 for all other tier plans. The Accelis Blue Cross Blue Shield Simple Blue Plus Standard Gold plan is being offered as a buy-up plan, with an HRA provided at $1,000 for a single, $2,000 for all other tiers. Access to the HRR funding will be provided after out-of-pocket expenditures of $200 for a single plan, $400 out-of-pocket for all other tiers. The town will provide bridge coverage through Colonial to assist with out-of-pocket expenses to the employee. The town will allow the employees to utilize a portion of the HRA for dental vision out-of-pocket, up to maximum between dental vision of $1,000 annually. The employee contribution rate is increased to 20% of the premium cost. All employees will be transferred to the bronze plan effective December 1st, unless special request is made by the employee to elect the standard gold buy-up plan. Could I have a second for this resolution?
Second.
Thank you. So this has been a lot of work, a lot of ongoing efforts between Bev and Sarah and myself. Again, with the goal is to try to reduce costs to the town and the taxpayers for health insurance. It's a major expenditure in our budget, and trying to be fair to our employees, trying not to pull the carpet from underneath them. At the same time, provide a better coverage for them at a less price for them and for the town. It's put out there for the board to review, to ask questions. So we need to make a decision tonight, because we have to give our employees a 90-day window to change over.
Can I say something?
Yes?
There will be a lunch and learn, so Chris and Chris Kellogg can explain it to the employees, so that if they have any question about that, they can answer it.
Yep. There'll be an education process if the board decides to go with this. We would set up times for our non-union employees to meet. We would tell Joe that, Joe, you gotta have your guys here at this hour, and we tell Jim, you gotta have your guys here at this hour, and then we would tell the town office people in the courts, and so forth. And again, this is non-union. This, if passed tonight, would be a strong bargaining option with the police department and the leadership union as we move forward, because our goal is to get 100% of our employees in this direction, but that's a negotiated item. Brian?
So there's no plan without an HRA?
I'm sorry, Brian.
There's no offering of a plan without an HRA?
No.
That's going way backwards for a lot of people.
And also, we've been working with the consortium that the county belongs to. We've done a comparison analysis. There's some things there that don't line up. They don't offer, they offer a single or a family. It would actually cost our employees more money if they were just a couple, a domestic partner, versus the consortium treats everything that's not single, whether it be a domestic partner, a spouse, one child, 4 children, considers that a family, and we have many people that don't fall into that categories, and the coverage is not quite the same as it was for, so there's not a cost savings going to the consortium. We continue to look at it, but it's not a cost savings at the moment. Questions, discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. I have a resolution here authorizing the purchase of replacement skirt for sewer plant from sole source supplier, whereas the town of Seneca Falls plant uses Spiraflow clarifier that was installed in 2003. Whereas it has been brought to the town's attention by the Water and Sewer Department and town's engineers that the skirts used by the clarifier are in need of replacement. Whereas Lakeside Equipment is the manufacturer and sole distributor of replacement parts for the spiral flow clarifier, as stated in the letter from Lakeside Equipment attached to this and made a part of this resolution. Whereas Lakeside Equipment has submitted a quote for replacement of the skirts for the spiral flows clarifier at a price of $32,405 each, which is also attached to and made part of this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board, the town of Seneca Falls, that the purchase of the 2 replacement skirts for the spiral flow clarifier is authorized at the price of $32,405 pursuant to the attached quote, without advertising for sealed bids as authorized by the state comptroller's opinions 67-558 and 83-105 in situations where items can be purchased from only one source. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. This has been reviewed by Town Attorney Morrell. This is put together with Peter's efforts and Joe's, and we had a brief discussion earlier about this and the need for this. It's the belief that buying 2 now would be prudent, since if the second clarifier goes bad, obviously there's a 12 to 14 week window before you can get the materials. So it won't go to waste. It's just something that we should do, and there's money there. So it's not coming out of the contingency budget or anything like that. It's coming out of the sewer contingency budget, not the general account.
First of all, I think this resolution should be modified to reflect the actual purchase cost of $64,810 rather than the wording of, we need 2 of them at the cost of $32,000 each. The resolution really should reflect the total cost.
It's written that way because that's the way the first quote came in. The first quote said it had that cost each.
Right.
So I was just reflecting the quote, and that was the quote that was going to be attached. A couple hours later, the next quote came in that had the number combined.
Confusing.
It was kind of moving target. We had reached out to the vendor at that point in time. Look at, just give us a quote for 1. Talking to Joe, our recommendation was 2, so we requested the vendor to apply for the quote. So
I'm just saying that's why the wording is the way it is.
So if we're going to purchase 2 of these and install 1 and do the other next year?
That's the
Or
plan
one
right now, unless.
hopefully
something
next year.
happens to the second. Yeah, we've got a budget for the one next year.
Well, we don't have any money budgeted
for the installation.
This isn't budgeted at all.
That's correct.
There's going to be $200,000 contingency budget for sewer.
Oh, I understand.
That's coming out of.
I understand that. Coming out of dump money.
Pardon?
It's coming out of dump landfill money.
Contingency, it's in.
Well, you guys can call it contingency. I'll call it what it is.
Isn't that generated by sewer?
All right.
Yes.
Well, again,
But the buy is 64,810, correct?
correct.
And this really shouldn't go out to bid?
Well, right, that's the purpose of the particular wording of the
Oh, so
resolution.
you're keeping it under our spending, our guideline?
No, it's over the guideline. But because it's a sole source, it can only come from one place.
Proprietary.
Okay, because there's sewer, the big tanks.
Yeah, I understand.
They're already there.
Yeah.
They've been there for almost 20 years.
Right.
And
nobody else can sell us
correct.
This piece.
Well, the people we're dealing with make it.
Oh, I understand.
And then the only ones that deal with those particular tanks. So
there's no other aftermarket kind of replacement.
Correct. Right. They're going to manufacture them, and that's why there's such a.
Well, they got us then, don't they?
Well,
$32,000 for some 60 feet of fiberglass.
That's it.
A lot of money.
But that's the purpose of that resolution. That particular resolution is that there is an exception to the bidding requirements of the general municipal law and our own procurement policy. And this fits within that exception.
So this Lakeside Equipment Corporation are the folks that made that clarifying reviewed it.
Correct.
Okay.
And
They're not.
again, just, it's landfill revenue that, I'm assuming that landfill revenue make up the contingency budget, but, so just, based on the controller's requirement, we have to allocate landfill revenue someplace.
I understand it, but when
Okay.
people come in here all the time and say, where's the landfill money go?
Right.
Where's the landfill money go? This is landfill money.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's why I said
Yep,
it.
absolutely correct.
Just so that
It
they
goes
know.
into different reserves.
Folks know.
It goes into the operating budget.
I understand that.
Absolutely. Yep.
But they need to
Absolutely.
understand
I-
it. So if we say it more,
Yep.
they'll begin to understand it.
Absolutely. Again, you have the option of not taking the landfill money. You don't have to take the money.
Right.
That's an option, right? If the board decides we no longer want to take
Not
a
as long as-
contribution from the
Not as
landfill.
long as they're dumping here.
Well, it's an option though, right?
No.
That's not an option? Why isn't it an option?
Mike, why is it wrong to say that it's landfill money?
I'm
Why-
saying it's not
why does
wrong,
that-
Steve.
Well, why is that lit your rocket? I just mentioned it, and then you're focusing on that. Who cares about that? Let's talk about this resolution.
Absolutely, I agree.
It wasn't budgeted, that's all I'm saying. It came out of contingency. You
Right.
wrote this landfill.
Unexpected budget, one of those emergency situations that affects the health and safety of our residents. Absolutely.
Potentially, yes. No, not necessarily. But it's operating now, and it doesn't have a third of the skirt in it. And nobody's getting sick.
But we have a big heavy.
So it was pieced together, and if it broke down.
Well, when did it break? When was this event?
Joe, when was the event?
About 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks.
So,
About the same time you clipped the wires on the stop sign?
yeah. I was on a roll.
Because it seems to me we've had some pretty significant rain events since then. But all right, let's move
Okay,
on.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. This is the water bills, right? There's no resolution. That's the award of bid. Our next course of action is to award the bid for installation of new pumps at the Auburn Road Pump Station. This is based on the above. The engineering firm of B&L recommend the town of Seneca Falls award contract number 1 for the general construction of the Auburn Road Pump Station improvements to John W. Danford Company for $17,980. Following the award, B&L requests copies of bonds and insurance from the contractor and will coordinate contract execution. Can I have a second to award this contract to the John Danford Company?
Second.
Thank you. Peter, can you give us a little background? And by the way, I do have the certificate of insurance that they've already sent me. I have that.
We'll need bonds. So basically, this is on Auburn Road, there's a small pump station, not quite towards where the bank is, that serves the mostly residential quarter on 5 and 20. That the pumps have been in place for a long time. Joe has actually gone out and procured all the pumps, piping, valves, control panel. So the town has purchased everything. In a normal circumstance, the town will put it in. That installation requires someone enter the wet well. It's a confined space entry. The town doesn't have the ability to do confined space entry, so they need to contract that out. We reached out to because of the value of the contract, it was less than $40,000. We reached out to 4 contractors we've worked with, and given the current market, we only got 1 bid. One contractor pretty much wasn't responsive. The other contractor was at the site visit, did not put a bid in, and one contractor early on pretty much said they would, due to workload, they would not submit a bid. So it's funny times with contractors right now because of the labor shortages and a lot of work that's kind of happening. Contractors are very busy. So we thought the value was pretty good value for what the work entails.
Okay.
Any budgeted item?
I'm sorry?
Budgeted?
Yes.
Yes?
We moved money last from another pump station to that, not a couple months ago.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Peter, do you need anything? You're all set then?
We'll reach out, let you know as proceed. I think we'll have to submit, send the bonds in, not know what they've done. This is not a, this is basically, we've indicated the contractor, this is almost a, we're gonna, the town contractor and the town's electrical contractor will have to work together to kind of schedule a date that's gonna happen. You know, we haven't given them a hard time, other than we want it done in the next few months.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, thank you. Keep us posted. I'd like to make a motion to accept the water sewer credits. We don't have it, so we don't have to worry about it. Any other new business for this board meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up the parking area on the north side behind the stores. Is that our responsibility to maintain that area, correct?
The north side behind the stores are maintain the property. Some of the parking spaces are privately owned, but Cowing Street is ours, obviously.
I'm talking on the north side. Behind.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the south side, I'm sorry.
Specifically what I'm talking about is there's a lot of, there's small mediums and stuff in there, and there's weeds that are, 3-4 feet tall, and really looks like hell back there.
Some of it's private, Jim, I don't know, I don't have an answer.
Well, the town rented, they rented Mark Robinette's parking lot. So Mark Robinette's parking lot is rented by the town. All the rest of
That's
them.
all the way down in the corner behind the building on State Street. That little section between.
Where Creighton's Drugs used to be.
Right in there.
Well,
But the rest of them, what you're talking about, the rest of them down through there, they're all privately owned.
the medians,
Inside. We owned the road that goes from State Street down through, we own that.
so we are responsible, because you get down behind Shalom Bank on the corner, a bunch of weeds growing in the, medians, where you've got some behind Dr. Chen's area.
It's not ours, it's not a private.
Really?
I think there's a map, I saw a map at one point of the property ownership back there. Mickey, I'm not sure if you know where that might be.
There was, I think it was supposed to marking study that was done.
Yeah.
that Chad was involved with.
And, it's, last I remember, Steve, it's all over the place back there, what was owned by the town, what's owned by.
Well, that's a problem.
I was surprised to see that.
Is it a lack of maintenance, a code violation?
We were going to take that around and we.
Drive that new truck over. All right, Jim, can you take a look tomorrow, please, and see, just take a look back there and take a look in the parking lot, and if something is ours, can we take care of it, please?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you.
If not, let me know.
You can go with the new truck.
We're excited about this.
Okay, just to let the public know, we had a special board meeting on July 26th, specifically for budget types of thing, as we are trying to look at different scenarios to reduce our dependency on landfill revenue. So we really didn't come up with a clear-cut, definitive answer. Basically, we agreed to start working on the budget, which we've been doing, and once we have a budget, a tentative budget type of thing, then we'll figure out exactly how it's going to be funded. But basically, we have three sources of revenue. Source number one, obviously, is property taxes. Source number two is landfill revenue, and source number three is a tax relief fund that we have. So those are three sources of revenue that would, combination of those would make up the revenue side of our budget. Okay? So I just wanted to give you an update on work continues on that.
Did you mean August 26th?
I'm sorry.
You said July 26th?
The special meeting was July 26th.
Oh, what?
What?
Oh, I thought you were telling us about another one.
No, that was July 27th.
Gotcha.
Okay. And last but not least, we saw a presentation back in June, I think, about opting out of marijuana dispensary and sale of marijuana. If we're going to opt out, if that's the direction of the board, that has to happen. A decision will have to be made at October's meeting because there's a public hearing that's required, which would take place in November. We have to opt out by December 31st, if that's the course of action, okay? So I'd like you to think about that. I'm not gonna, I really haven't put my thoughts into it for an opinion, but I think we need to either do nothing, which will be in, but just don't forget, if you don't want to opt out now, then you can never opt out moving forward, okay? If you want to opt out now, you can always opt back in. And there is a source of revenue coming from that. How much that is, I have no clue. I guess it'll depend on things. I know Union Springs has opted out. I think they opted out with the idea that they were trying to somehow curtail the Cuban Nation from being a dispensary of marijuana. And that ain't going to happen, okay? There's no way to stop the Cuban Nation on their property from selling marijuana. And I can tell you right now that all of their East Barrett Street property that used to be a cattle farm, the plan is in place for that all to become a place for growing marijuana. They will become a major producer of marijuana in this community, over here as well. So those are some things to think about. I would suggest you do your homework because coming October or September, we need to make a decision if we're going to have to. Okay, any questions there? Okay. I make a motion that we pay the bills for the month of July. Can I have a second for that, please? Thank you. There is no need for executive session that I'm aware of. Can I have a motion for the special order of the day? All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye.